Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's session. Principal Reverend Father Dr. John PJ, Vice Principal Sister Dr. Sonia, BSS family, and our distant guests who are connected from various places. Greeting to one and all. It gives me immense warmth and great pleasure to grace all of your presence in this international webinar. पहले आपको बीएसएस के बारे में थोड़ा सा बता दूं। 1972 में तत्कालीन आर्च बिशप मोस्ट रेवरेंड डॉक्टर यूजीन डिसूजा के प्रयासों से आर्च डायसिस ऑफ भोपाल द्वारा स्थापित द भोपाल स्कूल ऑफ सोशल साइंसेज ऑटोनोमस कॉलेज आईएसओ सर्टिफाइड नैक परीक्षण में ए ग्रेड प्राप्त है। बीएसएस में खूबसूरत इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के साथ सेवा क्षमता और तमाम बुनियादी सुविधाएं, रिच लाइब्रेरी, फ्लिप्ड क्लासरूम्स, सोशल लाइफ, डिसिप्लिन, अफोर्डेबिलिटी और साथ ही एजुकेशन के प्रति कमिटमेंट कॉलेज की पहचान है। 20 एकड़ में फैले जीरो वेस्ट कैंपस में हरे भरे प्राकृतिक मनोरम दृश्य, सभी खास खेलों के साथ स्टूडेंट फ्रेंडली खेल के मैदान और सुविधा युक्त कैंटीन स्थापित है। एक समय में सोशल साइंस कॉलेज के नाम से पहचाने जाने वाले बीएसएस में आज अप्रॉक्स 5000 स्टूडेंट्स बीबीए, बीकॉम, बीएससी, बीसीए, बीए, एमबीए, बीएड, बीएसडब्ल्यू, एमकॉम, एमए और एमएसडब्ल्यू और साथ ही ऑनर्स और कई कॉम्बिनेशन युक्त कोर्सेज के साथ अध्ययन कर रहे हैं। बीएसएसएस प्रिंसिपल डॉक्टर फादर जॉन पीजे के कुशल नेतृत्व में वैश्विक ट्रेंड्स को देखते हुए बीएसएसएस में 41 से ज्यादा सर्टिफिकेट कोर्सेज हैं और 6 डिप्लोमा कोर्सेज सफलतापूर्वक संचालित हैं। ऊंचा लक्ष्य, स्वस्थ सोच, इसी के साथ हर दिन सीखकर खुद को अपडेट रखना यहाँ के स्टूडेंट्स बहुत अच्छी तरह जानते हैं। गर्व की बात है, बीएसएस ने शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में विदेशों में भी कदम बढ़ा लिए हैं। बैंकॉक की असम्पशन यूनिवर्सिटी में एमबीए और कंकोडिया कॉलेज न्यूयॉर्क, यूएसए और साथ ही यूके से शिक्षा प्राप्त कर हमारे स्टूडेंट्स लाभ ले रहे हैं। स्वतंत्र सोच को सम्मान देते हुए बीएसएसएस ने लिम्का बुक ऑफ रिकॉर्ड्स और वर्ल्ड बुक ऑफ रिकॉर्ड में भी कॉलेज का नाम दर्ज कराया है। बीएसएसएस का ऑनलाइन इंटरनेशनल रिदम रेडियो है, जिसमें हर दिन हजारों श्रोता जुड़कर कॉलेज के ही आरजे और कॉलेज के ही हमारे स्टूडेंट सिंगर्स हर दिन नया प्रोग्राम देते हैं और श्रोतागण आनंद लेते हैं। किताबों से बाहर की जिंदगी को ध्यान में रखते हुए, सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज को देखते हुए आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स है देव आहारम। एम्स हॉस्पिटल में हर दिन सुबह 6 बजे लगभग 300 रोगियों के परिजन को आहार वितरित कर बीएसएसएस परिवार खुद को धन्य मानता है। आज की तारीख में लॉकडाउन और कोविड के चलते देव आहारम की रसोई से ये नेक काम ज्यादा संख्या में और ज्यादा उदारता से चल रहा है। हम विश्वास करते हैं अपने मोटो टूवर्ड्स अ बेटर वर्ल्ड। दुनिया के हालात अदृश्य वायरस ने ऐसे कर दिए हैं कि विज्ञान बौना हो गया है। डिज्नी इज आउट ऑफ मैजिक, फेस्टिविटी ऑफ इंडिया इज मिसिंग, पेरिस इज नो लॉन्गर रोमांटिक, न्यूयॉर्क doesn't stand up anymore, the Chinese wall is no longer a fortress and Makkah is empty. Our touch has become our enemy, and not visiting parents and friends becomes an act of love. Suddenly, you realize that power, beauty, and money are worthless and can't get you the oxygen you are fighting for. The world continue its life and it's beautiful. कोविड-19 के कहर ने जिंदगी में यू टर्न लाके रख दिया। मन में डर, घबराहट और तनाव रहता है। कल क्या होगा? नकारात्मकता के माहौल में दहशत है, घबराहट है, तनाव है। लेकिन हालातों का सामना करना भी इंसानी फितरत है और इत्तफाकन समय की जरूरत भी है। हमने ये भी माना कि कोविड काल में सफेद कोट पहने हॉस्पिटल्स में ईश्वर रोगियों की मदद के लिए आते हैं और वही ईश्वर डॉक्टर्स कहलाते हैं। तो आज हमारे इस इंटरनेशनल वेबिनार में दो डॉक्टर्स मौजूद हैं हमारे अतिथि के तौर पे, जो आज हमसे कोविड 19 जैसी गंभीर समस्या पर बात करेंगे, चर्चा करेंगे। ये हमारी खुशनसीबी कि हमारे साथ जुड़ी हैं जिनको मैं बहुत गर्व से इंट्रोड्यूस करना चाहती हूँ। और ये है वर्जीनिया यूएसए स्किल्ड एंड नॉलेजेबल डॉक्टर डॉक्टर अंदलीब रहमान, जो कि शुरू से पढ़ाई में टॉपर रही। डॉक्टर अंदलीब का अपना क्लिनिक है, स्माइल एक्सपर्ट्स डेंटल। आप दो स्टेट्स में प्रैक्टिस कर रही हैं, वर्जीनिया और वॉशिंगटन डीसी में। क्वालिटी से कतई समझौता नहीं, ऐसा मानती हैं डॉक्टर अंदलीब रहमान। द भोपाल स्कूल ऑफ सोशल साइंसेज की तरफ से आपका तहे दिल से स्वागत, अभिनंदन।
Thank you.
हमारी दूसरी डॉक्टर हैं रिस्पेक्टफुल एंड एम्पैथिक डॉक्टर क्षितिजा सिंह जैन, सीनियर रेजिडेंट डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ हॉस्पिटल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, ऑल इंडिया इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मेडिकल साइंसेज, न्यू दिल्ली से। हमेशा से अपने काम में सजग रहने वाली और बहुत अलर्ट और स्वीट सी डॉक्टर हैं डॉक्टर क्षितिजा सिंह जैन। डॉक्टर क्षितिजा, BSSS आपका हृदय से स्वागत करता है।
Thank you, ma'am.
तो आज हम अपने इस कार्यक्रम में सबसे पहले आमंत्रित करते हैं डॉक्टर अंदलीब रहमान को। और डॉक्टर अंदलीब रहमान, योर टॉपिक इज COVID-19 challenges and solutions.
Good evening, everyone. I am truly honored to be here today, and I would like to thank Ms. Manju Mehta, Dr. Naina, and their team for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this discussion. I won't go much into the detail of what is COVID-19, as we have all heard enough things about it already. But just a few important pointers. COVID-19 is a disease that is caused by a virus that belongs to the large family of coronaviruses. The virus was first identified in 2019, hence the name COVID-19. As we all know, COVID-19 can be severe, and it has caused millions of deaths around the world. It can spread from person to person when an infected person talks, breathes, coughs, sneezes, sings. The symptoms show in the people within 2 to 14 days. So you might be infected and you are not aware of it, and you are spreading the virus to other people. That is why simple measures like wearing a mask and keeping a social distance of 6 feet can go a long way. I first heard about COVID-19 around December of 2019. At that time, we were all enjoying our normal lives here. It seemed like a distant disease which was happening in another continent. January passed by with more and more news about COVID. January 31st, WHO issued global health emergency. Then we started hearing about cases in California and New York. It was getting closer and closer. March 11th, WHO declared COVID-19 a pandemic. March 17th of 2020, was my last day in my dental clinic when the governors of DC and Virginia ordered us to shut down. The schools were closed as well, and from then on, we were all home. This was the beginning of our efforts as a family, my efforts as a healthcare practitioner, and all our efforts as a responsible citizen to curb the virus. For the next month and a half, we did not step out of our house. Since we already knew a lockdown was coming, we had stocked on some groceries. But in a house with kids, milk, bread, and some fresh produce is needed every now and then. So we used the online shopping apps where a person would do the grocery for us and leave it at our door. We would let the groceries sit there for a couple of hours. And then my husband would get them inside in the garage, sanitize everything, and then they made their way into my kitchen. All I mean to say is that we took abundant precautions. At that time, very little was known about COVID, and people were scared that it was also spreading through surface contamination. But it's always better to be safe than to be sorry. My medical friends who were working in the hospitals and the ICUs rented separate apartments because they were scared they would carry the virus home and give it to their children. They did not see their kids for weeks. Social life was completely paralyzed. We just stayed in contact with a couple of families whom we knew were following all the rules and precautions. We would meet them once in 2 weeks or maybe just once a month. My kids haven't stepped in a mall yet. We haven't taken any vacation in the past year. Here in the US, you don't have extended family. Like you can go to your bua's house or your mausi's house and to your neighbor's house unannounced. So here the stress busters are going to the mall, going to the museum, or going to the beach. And we haven't done any of that. So it has been a hard year for all of us. I would share another personal story here. My youngest son is 10 months old, and he was born in July of 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. So, what protocol did the hospital follow to make it safe for us? I went to the hospital 24 hours before my delivery and got my COVID test done. Only one person was allowed inside. There were no visitors allowed. So when me and my husband entered the hospital, no one was allowed to come out until I got discharged. So that there is no in and out. You are sealed inside. We had to make arrangements for our other kids to be taken care of. They saw their little brother only on video call. But these are all the sacrifices you make when you are in a pandemic. On the professional front, when we opened after a month, we opened at 50% capacity. If I was seeing 12 patients on a regular basis, I was down to 6 now. Every patient got a questionnaire the day before their appointment. Have you had any fever? Have you had any cough? Has anyone around you tested positive? Have you traveled in the past 1 week or 2 weeks? If the questions were answered with a no, then only they were allowed to come inside my clinic. We installed air filtration system in all our rooms. Me and my staff wore a level 3 mask, followed by a KN95, and then face shields. We made sure no two patients were in the office at the same time. They would come, sit in the car, and call us that we are here. And when we were done with the previous patient, we would call them back and tell them to come up. Every patient got a temperature check. If the temperature was 100 or more, they were returned. Every patient was not happy with that. But if you make the rules, you follow the rules, even if it's hard. The economy suffered. Financial losses were incurred. But life is worth much more. Then we had our elections. Millions of Americans chose to vote by mail. I was one of them. My ballot arrived in mail with a return envelope. I sat in my home, in my living room, cast my vote, and sent it back. Every single vote by mail was accounted for, and we chose a better leader. Vaccination program has been running here with great success. More than 100 million Americans have been vaccinated. Planning and discipline is making it a success here. Volunteers are helping out in the process. Volunteers who are 60 or 70 years old are stepping out and helping the youth get vaccinated. When I went to the vaccination center, I would like to paint a picture for all of you because I was seeing on the news how people are standing in long lines for hours in India to get vaccinated. So here they made a line, a long line, but it kept moving. It kept moving all the time. There was one person who was just guiding us to have our IDs out. And you walk, but you are in motion, so it doesn't look that you're stagnant. And then there are about 20 tables, and a person is sitting there, and you go to them, you tell your name, your date of birth, they check you in, they identify you, and then you move again. And when you come to the main hall, they have set up about 50 tables with healthcare practitioners. When you get to the top of the line, there's one person who directs you, go to table 20. And you go to table 20, and it takes like 30 seconds for you to get the jab on your shoulder. So I was noticing that I think they're vaccinating 100 people every minute. Then you were asked to sit in a room for 10 minutes just to make sure that you're not having any adverse reaction and everything is fine. And then you're allowed to go out. So if you leave alone the 10 minutes that we waited, I was in and out in 8 minutes. I think that is absolutely commendable. India has its own challenges. The population alone is a big factor, but we can all do our bit. Try to make a difference where you are, and it can cause a ripple effect. Stay home, wear your mask properly. Keep the youth at home, don't let them go on the streets. If my kids could survive the past year, so can yours. Get a list of medications that have proved beneficial, like zinc, vitamin D, steam with cloves. If, God forbid, one member of your household turns positive, isolate the person completely. The caregiver has to follow all the precautions by the book. Otherwise, it won't take long when your entire household can be sick. The Indian people are very resilient and they are doing great in different parts of the world. Here, When I read news articles and you see the names of researchers and doctors and even officials, top officials in CDC, Center for Disease Control, it makes me so proud that they are of Indian origin. We have great minds there back in India. We just need to channel people in the right direction. This is a war. We need to realize that and start fighting against the virus. Make a change in your home today. Tomorrow, make a change in your neighborhood. Join forces. Start changing your city, your state, our country. I would just like to end with these words of encouragement. दिल ना उम्मीद तो नहीं, नाकाम ही तो है, लंबी है गम की शाम, मगर शाम ही तो है, हजारों उलझने राहों में और कोशिशें बेहिसाब, इसी का नाम जिंदगी है, चलते रहिए जनाब. Thank you.
थैंक यू सो मच अंदलीब. डॉक्टर अंदलीब का कहना भी है, इसी का नाम जिंदगी है, चलते रहिए जनाब. आपने बहुत अच्छी तरह से अपने वर्जीनिया यूएस के हालातों को बताया, और जिस तरह बताया कि आपकी डिलीवरी भी उन्हीं दिनों कोविड टाइम पर हुई, फिर वहाँ आपने वोट जिस तरह से दिए, लेकिन आपका कहना ये भी ठीक है, दिस इज वॉर, और इस वॉर से हमें लड़ना है, इस जंग से लड़कर हमें जीतना है. डॉक्टर अंदलीब, इंडिया के हालात बद से बदतर होते जा रहे हैं, और यहाँ के हालातों को जानने के लिए अब मैं आमंत्रित कर रही हूँ डॉक्टर क्षितिजा सिंह जैन को. डॉक्टर क्षितिजा सिंह जैन, जो कि एम्स दिल्ली में अपनी सेवाएं दे रही हैं, आप हमारे साथ जुड़िए, और आपका टॉपिक है इलनेस एंड रिकवरी.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I think there's some problem with my camera. It's getting off again and again. Um, Anyways, I have a small PPT which I have prepared. I'll share it with you. Just a second.
यूजीन सर, प्लीज पीपीटी मैडम की ऑन करें.
Yes, here it is.
मिस्टर यूजीन.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. If I may start. Hello, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, Dr. Kshitija, you are audible.
Okay. So, ma'am,
Yes,
ma'am
ma'am, you are
has very,
audible.
yeah, Dr. Anleep has beautifully described that the challenges which we have been facing since past 1 year across the globe, and the solutions to the challenges. So I would like to highlight about little about the illness and the recovery, because we see a lot of panic these days about. You would have got the news that in India there is shortage of oxygen, the shortage of beds. People are in panic. They are queues outside the hospital. So it is best to understand the disease, because once you understand the disease, the fear in itself is won over. So, as it is that COVID 19 is a novel virus, which means it's a new virus and a lot is not known about the virus. And it first caused viral pneumonia in China. That is when we learned, the WHO learned about it in December 2019. And slowly it was labeled as a pandemic. India is presently facing the phase two of the infection. We did face phase one infection in 2020, and now we are in phase two. And the cases now today being reported are second highest only to USA. So if we go through the little statistics, we know that presently there are more than 2.27 crores of cases which have been reported, out of which 1.87 crores have recovered, And unfortunately, there have been demise of more than 2.46 lakh people in India. And you can see the stats every day, they are rising, the new cases are being reported, and especially the states of Delhi, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Uttar Pradesh, they are very worrisome. So we can see that this is it starts from 2020, and there was this peak, and it did come down. So we did win over our phase one. India had phase one. If there was infection, we did not know much about the virus, but everybody fought it bravely. We did come down. Unfortunately, हमारी एक phase two भी आ गई. Now, there are reasons why the phase 2 has come, because the virus has mutated. We'll discuss further that virus does mutate. And then, for as Dr. Andreep said, that they have not stepped out of the house for a year. They did not go to the mall for a year. But if you do not follow that, the virus gets the opportunity to mutate and to spread. And that is when we again face a wrath of the virus, which you can see there is a peak. Now, what does the virus do? Virus basically affects your body, and your body throws the symptoms. That is when you get to know that you have been infected with the COVID virus. You will get fever, you'll have dry cough, and you'll feel fatigue. People say that this kind of weakness they have not faced in past illnesses. We all get flu once in a while, we all get cough and cold once in a while, but this kind of weakness, the fatigue, it's bone breaking. A lot of people say lot of taste, loss of taste and smell is there. Nasal congestion is reported. And some people you would see that, especially in phase 2, are complaining of conjunctivitis. They say there's redness of eyes, especially in the children. You have sore throat. People say that they start with this thing that they feel, headache, muscle joint pain, different types of skin rashes are reported. Nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea has been reported more in the phase 2. Chills and dizziness is also reported. So these are the symptoms. आप जब infect हो जाते हो, when you get in contact with the person who already has COVID, so 2 to 14 days के अंदर it's called convalescent period. आपको पता नहीं चलता कि आपके अंदर वायरस आ गया है, but जब वो वायरस अंदर ही अंदर डिवाइड होकर के it increases in number, then your body starts to throw the symptoms. It tells you that there's something wrong with it. If we ignore these symptoms, mild symptoms, we might proceed towards the severe symptoms. These severe symptoms will include the shortness of breath, there is a loss of appetite, your body is now in a catabolic state, the body is breaking down, you don't feel hungry, you are a little confused, and there is a persistent pain or pressure in the chest because there is shortness of breath, you are laboring a lot, you are putting a lot of effort to breathe, and your temperature increases. Now, there are few symptoms which are not reported widely amongst the population. There is like this irritability, there is confusion, there is reduced consciousness, sometimes associated with seizures. Seizures जिनको हम झटका बोलते हैं. More severe and rare neurological complications such as stroke, brain inflammation, delirium, and severe nerve damage. So this basically happens. What happens is the virus is also known to cause some kind of coagulation disorders. जैसे हम कहते हैं कि खून गाढ़ा हो जाता है, थक्का जमता है, या ब्लीड कर जाता है. हमारे खून जो है जो नॉर्मल होता है उसे या तो थक्का या ब्लीडिंग ऐसे होने लगता है. सो
एक्सक्यूज मी डॉक्टर क्षितिजा,
श्योर.
आपका फर्स्ट स्लाइड ही दिख रहा है. आप उसको चेंज करना चाहें तो प्लीज चेंज कीजिए.
Oh, I have been changing it throughout, ma'am.
ओके ओके.
Is it okay? Is it visible now?
यस नाउ विजिबल. थैंक यू.
Okay. Can you see the slide, ma'am? Less common symptoms include?
नाउ विजिबल. थैंक यू
Sure,
सो
sure, ma'am.
मच.
Yeah. So, ma'am, these are the less common symptoms which are there, which are not widely reported, but these do happen. That is the reason आपके जो doctors होते हैं वो आपको एक set of test करने के लिए बोलते हैं. And then
Dr.
they ask,
Kshitija,
sure, ma'am.
Yeah, you're still on what is COVID-19. You're still not on the slide that you're talking
I
about. So
would
just go a
then
little bit
need a
more down.
little help because from I have already reached slide 8 in my PPT. Are any of my slides visible?
Yeah, yeah, now they are. So keep going down.
Sure. Okay. So I think this way it's visible.
You
Is
already
it?
did this one, so go to the next one. Yeah.
So these are the reasons your doctors ask you to get certain tests done. So now we have understood that there are three categories of the symptoms which are there. अब जब ये तीन तरीके के सिम्टम्स आपकी बॉडी थ्रो कर रही है तो उसका तीन तरीके का ट्रीटमेंट है. दैट इज हाउ वी एड्रेस अ प्रॉब्लम. अगर माइल्ड है तो हम उसको वॉच करते हैं, मॉडरेट है तो हम थोड़ा इंटरफेयर करते हैं, और अगर बहुत ज़्यादा सीवियर हो जाता है तो हम उसके ऊपर फर्दर एक्शन लेते हैं. So there is this small flow chart which, if it is visible, uh, this we are
Yes, it is.
following in AIMS. We have a mild disease category, we have a moderate disease category, and we have a severe disease category. Now this I'm explaining it to you in a very simple language. मैं आपको बहुत clinical aspect नहीं बताऊंगी so that लोगों में जो panic है वो थोड़ा कम हो जाए. माइल्ड डिजीज तब होती है जब आपको फीवर है, कफ है, कोल्ड है, बॉडी एक है, लेकिन आपकी सांस नहीं फूल रही, कोई रेस्पिरेटरी सिम्टम नहीं आ रहा है. And for the mild disease, the best solution is home isolation. Because see, we are already facing a lot of load on our infrastructure, a healthcare infrastructure. So अगर हम wisely, if we understand what is home isolation, हमारी जो major population है वो mild disease में, as they say about 80% of the people वो mild disease से ठीक हो जाते हैं. There are about 15% of the people who have moderate disease जिनको किसी तरीके के intervention की ज़रूरत पड़ती है, और 5% ऑफ द पीपल जिनको आईसीयू और वेंटिलेटर्स की जरूरत पड़ती है. होम आइसोलेशन का यू शुड बी रियली कॉशियस. हमने यूजुअली एक टर्म सुना है क्वारंटीन कर रहे हैं. क्वारंटीन और होम आइसोलेशन दे आर टू डिफरेंट थिंग्स. क्वारंटीन में देर इज अ सस्पेक्ट, या तो आप कहीं से आए हो या आप किसी के कांटेक्ट में आए हो और यू आर एट अ रिस्क. सो वी बेसिकली क्वारंटीन यू फॉर 14 days जो हमारा कॉन्वलेसेंट पीरियड होता है. देर इज आइसोलेशन मीन्स कि आप पॉजिटिव आ गए हो, यू हैव बीन इन्फेक्टेड एंड यू हैव थ्रोन सम काइंड ऑफ सिम्टम. So now you have to be completely isolated from the rest of the family. इसके अंदर you have to follow that you should isolate yourself. आपको आपके जो एरोजोल्स जनरेट होते हैं आपके कफ में, आपके स्प्यूटम में, आपकी स्नीजिंग में, यू शुड वेयर अ मास्क. हर 8 घंटे में आपको अपना मास्क थ्रो करना है. आपको प्रॉपर हैंड हाइजीन फॉलो करनी है. आपको अपने यूटेंसिल्स, अपने क्लोथ्स किसी के साथ शेयर नहीं करने हैं. एंड एट द सेम टाइम आपको किसी फिजिशियन के कांटेक्ट में रहना है ताकि आपको पता रहे कि आपके सिम्टम्स डिटेरियोरेट तो नहीं कर रहे. आर यू ओके, आर यू फाइन? And during this period, you can have your basic medicines like paracetamol, multivitamins, vitamin D का रोल है, vitamin C. हम कहते ही हैं कि जब सर्दी जुकाम होती है तो सिट्रस फ्रूट्स का रोल है. You have to rest, you have to take steam, आपकी deep breathing exercises. So you have to do this all at home and you have to take good care. And at the same time, if you can afford, आप अपना पल्स ऑक्सीमीटर पे अपना सैचुरेशन चेक करते रहेंगे ताकि थोड़ा भी डिफिकल्टी हो तो यू नो. सेकेंड कम्स द मॉडरेट डिजीज. मॉडरेट डिजीज तब होती है जब हम नॉर्मल सांस लेते हैं लेकिन आपको सडनली लगता है यू वांट टू ब्रीथ मोर ऑफन. यू इट इज कॉल्ड एज रेस्पिरेटरी रेट. यू आर ब्रीदिंग मोर देन 24 times in a minute, or your saturation is now falling below 93%. So now is the time when you know that the disease category is moderate, you are more infected with the virus, and you have to be with a physician. That is when the medicines are started, like steroids. Steroids पहले नहीं start करते. This is the time when you start your steroids and your medicines, and your physician should take care of this. इस time पे आप अपना personal intervention नहीं करोगे. This is the time when आपको blood test कराने होते हैं. At the same time, you have to be cautious that you don't rush for a CT scan. See, there are huge lines for the CT scan, and we have to also understand the X-ray exposures that you have in one CT scan. And unnecessarily, you're going for the testing, you are exerting yourself. Just follow the physician advice. And then comes the severe disease form. Severe disease form is, of course, taken care of in the ICUs. Patient needs might need a ventilator, might need different kinds of air support and everything. So I think for us, for the common people, mild disease is very important. Understanding that from mild to moderate आपका shift हो गए is understanding, and then you have to give yourself away to a healthcare worker. How do you stop the spread? It starts with you. You have to wear your mask. You have to wear your mask properly. Nose के नीचे नहीं, chin के नीचे नहीं. We do understand that people feel breathless, but every time you feel this, you should keep in mind that healthcare workers have been wearing it day in and out since past 1 year. If they can wear it, you can also wear it. यू शुड क्लीन योर हैंड्स. आप एटलीस्ट 40 सेकेंड्स के लिए अपने हाथ अच्छे से साबुन और पानी से धोएंगे. 6 फीट का डिस्टेंस मेंटेन करेंगे. एंड यू हैव टू गेट वैक्सीनेटेड. You know, we have this little fear that, oh, vaccine ka ye hai. And at the same time, you also have to understand a lot of rumors start in the society when a new thing is introduced. Vaccine is a new thing. After I think a long time, इस तरीके की mass vaccination has been started in the country. I don't remember मेरे लाइफ टाइम में इतना इस लेवल पे मास वैक्सीनेशन हुआ होगा. सो व्हेन अ न्यू थिंग इज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड, काफ़ी सारे फियर्स होते हैं, मिथ्स होते हैं, कई तरीके के लोग बातें कर देते हैं, बट देन राइट नाउ यही हमारे पास एक टूल, एक हथियार है. सो यू हैव टू गेट वैक्सीनेटेड. बट दैट डज नॉट मीन कि आप भीड़ में, लाइन में एक दूसरे के पास खड़े हो जाएं. तो फिर वो पूरा पर्पस ऑफ वैक्सीनेशन डिफीट हो जाएगा, क्योंकि आप वैक्सीन लगवाने गए हैं एंड यू एंड अप टेकिंग द इन्फेक्शन फ्रॉम देयर. एंड दैट इज व्हेन पीपल से दैट आई गॉट सो सिक आफ्टर गेटिंग वैक्सीनेटेड, बिकॉज यू एक्सपोज्ड योरसेल्फ अननेसेसरी. So wear your mask, wash your hands, maintain your distance, and get vaccinated. And I think people are doing a commendable job. Our country is doing a commendable job. We can see the graphs how they have slowly risen in India, and up till 8th of May, at least 9.8% of the population has taken a first dose, and 2.5% of the population has taken a second dose. So we all know that it's a war, as you said, and we need to cope up, because warfare is a long time. Humans do get tired. We are social animals. We can't live without socializing, without interacting, and this kind of stress, it does take toll on us. So one has to relax. You have to do your breathing exercises. You have to relax. You have to connect with others. जब आप बीमार पड़ते हो तो डू आइसोलेशन आपको फिजिकल करना है, मेंटल और सोशल नहीं. वी आर लकी टू हैव वीडियो चैट्स, वी आर लकी टू हैव फोन दीज डेज. टॉक टू पीपल, काउंसल देम, चिट चैट, बूस्ट योर मोरल. कोई बीमार है तो आप उसका मोरल बूस्ट कीजिए. कीप शेयरिंग योर स्टोरीज, पॉजिटिव स्टोरीज, शुडंट स्प्रेड नेगेटिविटी. कीप अ हेल्दी रूटीन. Eat, as they say, eat away your viral. We heard it when we were kids. When we had viral fever, our mother used to tell us, "Khao, eat away your viral. Eat healthy food. Have a routine. Do exercises. Then eat properly. Sleep properly. Anxiety se dur rahiye. Be kind to yourself. Please, if you have got some infection, that does not mean कि आप अछूते हो गए हो. Be good to yourself. Motivate your own self that I'm going to be fine. I'm going to fight it off. Be practical about it. If you have a symptom, उसको छुपाइए नहीं. Talk to your physician and reach out for help if you need it. So, as I said, that the most important thing for the general population right now is the home isolation. So आप अपने आप को एक वेंटिलेटेड रूम में आइसोलेट कीजिए. आप अपने ट्रिपल लेयर मास्क जो आते हैं या N95 आते हैं, उसको एवरी 8 आवर थ्रो कीजिए. बिकॉज आप ऑलरेडी पॉजिटिव है, आपका मास्क इन्फेक्टेड है, तो उसको 1% सोडियम हाइपोक्लोराइड या आपने किसी डिसइंफेक्टेंट से डिसइंफेक्ट करके डस्टबिन में डालिए, ताकि आपका जो हाउस हेल्प है वो इन्फेक्ट नहीं हो जाए. रेस्ट कीजिए, हाइड्रेटेड रहिए, रेस्पिरेटरी एटिकेट्स फॉलो कीजिए, अपने आम में छींकिए. डोंट जस्ट थ्रो द एरोजोल्स ऑन पीपल. Wash your hands, care for people, clean the surface you touch of your room, regularly monitor your temperature, saturation, pulse, BP, and always be in touch with your physician. At the same time, जो caregiver है, the ones who are giving food to the patient, one who are interacting with the patient, they should also follow wearing a mask, following the hand hygiene, and you also have to keep disposable gloves या आप दूर से खाना रख लीजिए, whatever जो आप कर सकते हो, whatever is acceptable to you. And of course, in spite of following all these things, and we are already in phase two, we know we are anticipating phase three, and that's a fear. And that's there are also challenges which are going we are going to face in near future. They're going to be like we are anticipating a third wave. They say that the third wave is going to affect the children because हमारे elderly already vaccinated है, जो हमारी youth population है इस टाइम पे उसको ज़्यादा affect हो रहा है. Children जो है वो अभी तक vaccinated नहीं है, they had been really protected, virus mutate कर रहा है. A lot of mental illnesses we see, a lot of mental trauma, as we say, post traumatic disorders are would be seen. People are losing a lot of family members, in loved, near and dear ones are being lost, and that it doesn't really come out at that very moment. कई बार आपको उसका इफेक्ट 2 महीने बाद देखने को मिलता है, 3 महीने बाद देखने को मिलता है. And of course, people are also dealing with economic crisis. There are lockdowns. People are not stepping out to purchase. हमारी जो total economy है, it is being affected. So we have to understand one thing, that if we are healthy, if we fight this off, then of course we have a lifetime to recover our economic losses. So have a very positive attitude towards it. Have the confidence that you can fight the disease off. Keep in touch with your healthcare workers. Read as much as you can and read correct news and be positive. And I think that's the way we can all fight this disease off and win this disease. Thank you, ma'am. I would conclude here.
थैंक यू सो मच डॉक्टर क्षितिजा. आपने जैसे बताया ट्रिपल ईयर मास्क लगाएं और साथ ही साथ स्टॉपिंग द स्प्रेड स्टार्ट विथ यू
Yes,
एंड मोटिवेट योरसेल्फ. ये सारी चीजें अगर हम ध्यान से सोचें और हर इंसान बहुत ध्यान से सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग के नियमों का पालन करे तो जरूर कोरोना हारेगा और भारत जीतेगा.
definitely.
डॉक्टर क्षितिजा, आपने बहुत अच्छी तरह इंडिया के हालातों को बताया और ये भी बताया कि थर्ड जो लहर आने की हमें उम्मीद है उसके लिए हमें थोड़ा सावधान होना बहुत जरूरी है. यहाँ
Yes,
मुझे विश्वास है कि हर हिंदुस्तानी इस संकट का न सिर्फ सफलता से मुकाबला करेगा बल्कि इस मुश्किल घड़ी से विजयी होकर निकलेगा. आपके मन में कई सवाल आ रहे होंगे. हमारे साथ दो दो एक्सपर्ट्स हैं. मैं आप सबसे ये रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि अगर आप क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं. जो साथी हमारे यूट्यूब से जुड़े हैं वो जो भी क्वेश्चन करना चाहें प्लीज चैट बॉक्स में लिख दीजिए. और क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन के लिए मैं इनवाइट कर रही हूँ आर वेरी ओपन माइंडेड एंड डेडिकेटेड प्रोफेसर एचओडी एजुकेशन डॉक्टर शीना थॉमस को. वेलकम डॉक्टर शीना थॉमस.
Thank you so much, Manju
प्लीज
ma'am.
मैम क्वेश्चन कीजिए.
Thank you. At the onset, I would like to congratulate both our speakers, Dr. Shitija and Dr. Andali, for a wonderful presentation, for a simple and wonderful presentation, because you spoke out of your mind and you spoke out of your experience of this pandemic year. Thank you so much. And thank you, Manju ma'am and Naina ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to coordinate the question answer session. So I've taken up two questions from the chat box. The first one reads like this: if someone gets infected, if someone got infected rather in the first wave, what are the chances of reinfection? I would like to put this question to Dr. Shitija. If someone, the question is very,
yes.
has been answered off and on again, but then the participants want to know directly from you. What are the chances of reinfection?
See, it's a myth when people say that I got infected in the first wave, so now uh, किसी ने there's no see what happens is once you get infected your body produces antibodies. अब वो antibodies जो होती हैं over the period it is very individual. हो सकता है मेरी body की immunity is good enough and the antibodies remain for a very long time. But in few cases, if the immunity is not good and over the period, the antibodies might decrease. So now you are more vulnerable to get infection in the second wave. So that is the reason we say that if you have been infected earlier also, do get vaccinated, do get your antibodies checked, check your antibodies level, and then accordingly go for the vaccination plan. But yes, if you have been infected earlier, there is a probability that you can get infected if the antibodies have fallen down and you again come across the infection.
Right. So, meaning to say that we are not supposed to put our guards down,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yes.
certainly.
Yeah. And the second question, ma'am Andalip, Dr. Andalip, if you can take up this question. The question reads like, what are the key differences between symptoms of SARS-CoV-2 and the earlier version we had?
I think the basic symptoms are the same: sore throat, cough, fever, and the basic are some more, but we are just seeing a lot of post-COVID things now here, like strokes, severe heart diseases. A lot of fungal infections are coming up. And I think this is because the virus is becoming more and more virulent and it is going mutations. So that's the reason. But for the common person, I believe just watch out for the main common symptoms and seek help as early as possible.
Okay, ma'am, on this note, I wanted to ask, generally when there is a change of weather, people do get infected with cold and cough. So, how do we know whether this is whether we should get tested or whether this is SARS-CoV-2 or whether you can point like
Yes.
is it a general cold and cough?
That's a very good question because we do not want here. They were very, very particular that please don't come to the urgent care. Do not come to the hospital on the first day, because that's what's happening. The people who were not COVID positive were also storming the hospitals. In the beginning, there was a lot of confusion here too. But I think we learned through phase one and phase two. So we learned through the things. So here, you watch yourself for a couple of days at home, isolate yourself, consider that you're COVID positive. Like here in dentistry, you follow universal precautions. We put on gloves for every patient. We follow the protocols. We think that everybody who is coming is infected. So here, the phase, the era, the time that we're living in, consider yourself COVID, but don't start going out. Just isolate yourself, wear the mask at home, take the common medications that you are taking. And then if you see that your symptoms are worsening, if you're having problem breathing, and pulse oximeters are readily available, so check your oxygen concentration. If it is falling below 95, then that's the sign that you need to seek medical care.
Okay. Taking a lead from what you said right now and also during your presentation, ma'am, whatever India is happening right now, what I feel is all these is because of the voluminous population we have and also systemic failure. But what as individuals we can do? Because India, the population density is so huge. So practically the social distancing is not possible wherein you're living in a rented space of 6 by 6 or say 12 people are living or 5 people are living. So social distancing, wearing masks, these are things which doesn't become very practically possible. And of course the government has done its bit, but I felt they have failed to read the early signs when they were alerted by different publications, the medical journals, say so to say the CDC of US. So they have so to say ignored, and that is why we see that the wave has become intense in the second wave, and we anticipate a third wave. So these are the systemic failures. But how can individuals like you and me, or probably the college students or those who have joined us, how can we make a difference? See, talking about not going out, but then not going out is okay with middle class and upper middle class families, but then there are people, those who are from the poorer segments, it's not possible for them to stay home. And how do they eat? What do they eat? So what is the kind of solution you would like to offer to this?
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. And as I said in my presentation, the population of America is about 330 million, whereas for India it's 1.4 billion. Okay, I may be a little off with the numbers, but that's what it is. So definitely the challenges in India are way greater. And what the government did here, you won't believe, but the amount of relief that the US government has given to every family, to every individual, to every child. They mail checks so that children are taken care of. At least there is food on the table so that people don't have to go out to work just to feed their families. So there is a lot of difference in the situation here and there. I agree with that completely. But you have to learn and you have to see what can I do best. Yes, my situation is worse, but I can't keep blaming the system. I can't keep blaming the government. There is something that I need to do on my part, and simple steps go a long way. And as Dr. Shita just said, have a positive attitude. Don't think about all the wrong that is happening. Yes, there's a lot of wrong going on around, the condition of the hospitals, the lack of oxygen. Like my heart just goes out when I see things on YouTube. But at least wear a mask, wear it properly. Just wear a mask. Wash your hands every half an hour. These are the simple things that everybody can do. And I am sure there is a difference between necessity and just going out for fun. If we can curb all the fun activities there, you will see a decline. You will definitely see a decline in the social meetup that is going on. And I talk to people regularly and I know what's going on. In Bhopal, I know because there are youth that are out. The Ramadan is going on, they are out. Then we had the Kumbh Mela and the people were out. So if we could have avoided those situations or we could have lessened the effect of that, we wouldn't have seen such a bad situation right now. So keep the children at home, keep the youngsters at home in their 20s and 30s. They don't need to go out. They don't need to go and play and meet up with their friends and sit at a tea stall and have tea. I know the culture. So I think if we concentrate on these smaller things, we will see a big change in time.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. And there is a question posted on our YouTube chat window which goes on to read: is the third wave inevitable, or is it too early to say anything on that? Dr. Kshitija, if you can answer, take that question.
Sure. See, what happens is the virus mutates. When the virus spreads from one person to another and it spreads across a major population, then the virus does mutate. It gets more opportunities to mutate. So, considering the population of the country and as you see the social gatherings and other things, a large crowd that is there, we are pretty sure that in India the virus has already got the opportunity to mutate and spread further. So, there is a high chances that we would have third wave. And if you have followed the news, just yesterday or day before yesterday, we were seeing how Maharashtra hospitals have started to prepare for the third wave. They
Hmm.
are
Right.
preparing more of pediatric ICUs this time because as they are anticipating that this time the children would be affected more. So even if it's inevitable, I think we have the opportunity and time to prepare, and we should have learned from wave one, two, and I think we should be better prepared and better. We should pull up our socks for the third wave.
And when is it supposed to happen? Like, what time duration are we thinking that the third wave may happen?
See, we can't predict because you don't really know how much the virus mutates and how virulent it is. You know, just not just the mutation. Virus would mutate. If I don't know if you have kept a tab of, we had this H1N1 swine flu, and every year we get vaccinated for it because the slight mutation of the virus. So the vaccines change accordingly. They would incorporate the new strains in it. So you cannot anticipate the you cannot predict the exact time when it would be, but as they say, it should be somewhere around September, October.
Mhm. Okay, and ma'am, how do we, if suppose it is going to affect the children more, how do we safeguard our children?
See, for children, unfortunately, there have been no studies which have been done till now, uh, or if they have been doing, there's no as such research which have been published. Or the vaccines, they always say that it is not for less than 18 years old. So we need to safeguard our children only through keeping them at home, following the hand hygiene, following all the practices of maintaining social distance, and somehow, yes, it is difficult, but desperate times need desperate measures. We will have to confine our children to homes, not letting them go to the parks and play. And as Dr. Andeep said, that culture of letting our teenage children go out, meet their friends, we'll have to curtail that. So till we do not get a vaccine, until it is not rolled out for the children, keeping them home, keeping them safe, protecting them from the infection is the only way out.
Right.
डॉक्टर क्षितिजा, जैसे ये कोरोना से जो लोग ठीक हो रहे हैं आजकल, वो
Yes,
डी
ma'am.
डाइमर टेस्ट करवा रहे हैं,
Yes, ma'am.
क्योंकि डी डाइमर शायद कुछ ऐसा है कि अपना लंग्स के आसपास कुछ जमा हो जाते हैं, क्लॉट्स बन जाते हैं, और
Ma'am.
हार्ट अटैक्स बढ़ रहे हैं, और ऐसे ही ब्लैक फंगस बढ़ने से आंखों की रोशनी जा रही है। तो ये
Ma'am,
साइड इफेक्ट बहुत ज़्यादा हैं। ऐसे में क्या प्रिकॉशंस रखने चाहिए?
Well, unfortunately, these are the complications of COVID 19. So, it is not once a person reaches that state, it is entirely now in the hands of the healthcare workers. It is the treatment. As in, you can't take a precaution because what happens is, आपने दो चीज़ें मेंशन की, that is the D dimer test. As I told you, there are few tests जो आपके doctors they ask you to repeat it timely. It also includes IL-6, D dimers, your CRP levels. So what happens is the doctors try to monitor two, three things in your body. They want to. What happens once a virus comes inside your body? Your body also produces some kind of reaction to fight it. Unfortunately, sometimes your body starts to destroy your own cells. So वो यूजुअली होता है डे 8-10 के अराउंड, दैट इज व्हेन आपके IL-6 लेवल्स को मॉनिटर किया जाता है क्लोजली सो दैट योर बॉडी इज नॉट हार्मिंग योर ओन बॉडी। बी डाइमर कोएगुलेशन प्रोफाइल को बताता है कि आपका जो खून है उसमें थक्का जमने की क्षमता क्या है, बिकॉज दैट इज व्हेन जब स्ट्रोक के चांसेस बढ़ रहे हैं, हार्ट अटैक के चांसेस बढ़ रहे हैं, लोगों में कार्डियक प्रॉब्लम्स हो रही हैं। सो डी डाइमर लेवल्स को भी डॉक्टर्स मॉनिटर करते हैं, आपके CRP लेवल्स को मॉनिटर करते हैं, वो दिखाता है कि आपकी बॉडी के अंदर कितना इन्फेक्शन है। सो दीज आर द टेस्ट विच आर advised by the doctors, healthcare workers, and they're monitored by them. So once you reach that stage, you are in the hands of a hospital or some center. And
ओके,
the
थैंक यू
fungal
डॉक्टर।
infection, as you said, ma'am, it happens about on the second or third day of once the COVID-19 is over. So it is a superseded fungal infection. आपको वायरस हुआ, आपकी बॉडी जो है वो वीक हो गई, इम्यूनिटी कम हो जाती है, उस टाइम पे आपको एक superseded infection हो सकता है. So that is when you call this, basically it is called as the mucormycosis. It is the black fungus, and yes, they do have little poor prognosis.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर क्षितिजा। डॉक्टर शीना थॉमस, प्लीज आपका सवाल।
Thank you, ma'am. But then one more question to you. You people have been on your toes right from March 2020. How do you safeguard yourselves? Agar ye technique, probably how you safeguard yourselves if it at least reaches to the educated class of the youth, then probably a major chunk of our population will be protected. So how do you actually safeguard yourselves, because you are so vulnerable, so much in close contacts with all these people, those who are positive? आप लोग कैसे अपना ध्यान रखते हैं?
If I may answer,
Yes, yes, ma'am. Kshitija ma'am. Yes.
sure. So see, we actually practice what we preach, and we have kind of adapted to it. It is a new normal for us. When we leave from the house, and if I may share my personal experience, because I also had kids at home. So I had taken out a set of clothes. I used to get up, go to the hospital. I would never take my mask off. If ever, if I wanted to have water, if I wanted to eat, I would see to it that I am at a certain distance from my colleague. We would not sit in the groups like before and chit chat and discuss our cases and eat food. We used to sit isolated, have our food. Whenever we would talk, we would always wear a mask. We all carried a very small bottle of sanitizer in our pockets. We would do regular hand hygiene. We would keep washing our hands. You have to do it for 40 seconds. And if you would, we all Google these days. If you Google, you can see the steps of hand hygiene. How do you wash your hand? How do you wash your fingers, your nails? So we used to follow these precautions at work. We always kept ourselves hydrated. एंड अनफॉर्चुनेटली जो डॉक्टर्स पीपी पहन के अंदर जाते हैं उनमें सीवियर डिहाइड्रेशन होता है सो एज एन
Hmm.
एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर व्हाट वी डिड हमने शिफ्ट्स छोटी कर दी थी that instead of
Hmm.
stretching a 12-hour shift you can do smaller shifts so that you get breaks in between so that ways the healthcare person can get some time to eat and hydrate because उसमें dehydration बहुत होता है so and as Dr. Andeep said आपको ये मान के चलना पड़ेगा that every person you are meeting is COVID positive only then आपकी body by reflex precautions को follow करेगी so it was not discrimination, it was precautions. So whenever we spoke to a patient or an attendant, we always maintained the distance. If they were not wearing the mask, we would politely request them to wear the mask. If they would come, we'll tell them that please use the sanitizer before handing the files of the patient. उनकी file वापस करने के बाद, we would wear disposable gloves for the examination जो हम पहले simple pulse अपने हाथ से ले लेते थे अब वो आप gloves पहन के pulse लेते हैं and once you are done with your hospital routine, before stepping out of the hospital, you have to disinfect, you have to remove, wash your hands, disinfect your cell phone if you have touched it, and you keep that entire set of things which you take to your hospital separately. So I would sit in my car, I would just put a little sanitizer on my steering, on my gearbox, and I would reach home and without interacting with anybody if you have the facility of having a second entrance so we would just enter first take a bath dip your clothes and then you go and meet your family members so initially it becomes difficult but once you do it for a day or two it becomes we are humans we get into routine very soon
Hmm.
so that
Right.
becomes like a school routine.
So, being very precautious and absolutely not taking it on a lighter note. I think we had in between, we had started off well, and then the first wave ended, and we sort of celebrated. That's
Yes.
where I think we had gone wrong. So, this is an indicator that even after the second wave subsides, probably it is not a time of celebration, not a time of huge gathering, and not to let our guards down and be absolutely careful as the doctors have guided us. One last question to you, ma'am, is what about pregnant women? How does it affect the child if a lady who's pregnant gets positive?
See again, if I would tell you, I myself got positive in my very first trimester. I just delivered 2 months ago. So,
Okay, many
uh,
congratulations.
thank you.
Yes.
So, it is very difficult, but again, you have to keep that positive mindset. You have to eat a lot, you have to take rest, you absolutely can't have a lot of medicines. So I was lucky to have just a milder form of it. So you can have your paracetamol, you can have multivitamins, you can take steam, take these things. And yes, there's still researchers and the papers are being published about are the antibodies transferred to the baby and affecting the baby. I would say that it depends also on the trimester. The first trimester is little tricky because the organs form हो रहे होते हैं baby के. Second
Mm.
trimester के onwards the baby is just putting on the weight. And third trimester is when you are about to you can deliver a child in ninth month and on. And then if the child gets infected, the child needs to be in the NICU, has to be taken care of. So as such, I have not come across any papers or researches in which they say that it has adversely affected the formation of a child. जैसे बोलते हैं ना, there are few medicines which affect
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
malformation of the child, but
Hmm.
pregnant ladies have to take precautions, and if God forbid you do contact infection from some place, then I think you just have to follow the basic rules of eating healthy, having your multivitamins, staying in touch with your gynecologist, and that's all.
Okay. Thank you, doctors, Dr. Kshitija and Dr. Anli, for patiently taking up the questions. Over to you, Manju ma'am.
थैंक यू सो मच डॉक्टर शीना। वैसे तो प्रेग्नेंट लेडी की जब बात हो रही थी तो मुझे डॉक्टर अंदलीप भी याद आ रही थी, क्योंकि डॉक्टर अंदलीप की डिलीवरी भी कोरोना काल में ही रही। इनके बेटे भी 10 महीने के हैं। इसका आंसर प्लीज आप भी दीजिए डॉक्टर अंदलीप।
Yes, so whatever Dr. Shitaja said sounds good. I just want to add a couple of things. That pregnancy is an immunocompromised state. Whenever a female is pregnant, she's not as strong as you are on a regular basis. So, one thing is that she needs to be extra careful. So, follow the precautions more strongly. And the second thing is that this is an unfolding situation. We don't know about COVID much. We know about diseases which have scientists have researched for years and years and years. In this situation, research is still going on. We are still learning. Till now, there hasn't been any connection whether anything is happening to the fetus or not. But here in the US, they are really encouraging the pregnant patients to get vaccinated, like they're encouraging the older adults to get vaccinated. So, any state where your immune system is compromised, whether you have diabetes, whether you have hypertension, you are above 65 years old, pregnancy is also one of those conditions. So, take greater risk, get the vaccine. And there were a couple of cases in which it was found that the patients who were pregnant and they got COVID, they delivered the baby prematurely. So, but that's just still going on. It's still in the meta phase. Nothing is really, tried and tested. Okay. So that's all I would say. Just follow the precautions. Every single person needs to follow the precautions because this is a condition not of a country, it's the entire world. We are so connected these days that if it doesn't go from India, US cannot breathe a sigh of relief. If COVID doesn't go from Africa, China cannot, be not concerned. So this is all, it's a global pandemic, and we all need to fight this together.
थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू सो मच डॉक्टर अंदलीप एंड डॉक्टर क्षितिजा। आप दोनों का एक्सपीरियंस बोल रहा था। आप सच में कोरोना वॉरियर हो, इस सोसाइटी को हेल्दी कर रहे हो। और जैसे कि कहा जाता है कि इस टाइम ईश्वर वाइट कपड़ों में हॉस्पिटल्स में लोगों की सेवा कर रहे हैं। तो हमारे साथ आप दोनों ने आकर जो हमें हमारा सम्मान बढ़ाया, हमारी क्वेरीज को पूरा क्लियर किया। थैंक यू सो वेरी मच। एंड डॉक्टर शीना, सो
Thank you
मच।
so
आपने
much.
काफ़ी क्वेश्चंस कवर किए। और हम जिस चीज़ के लिए हम इकट्ठा हुए थे कि आने वाली तीसरी लहर हमारे लिए जो बहुत चैलेंजिंग है, उससे कैसे सामना करें, उसके लिए कॉन्फिडेंस आया। लगता है फिर से शहरों में रौनक आएगी, फिर से गांवों में लौटेगी हंसी, फिर से सड़कों पे सब नाचेंगे, पटरी पे पहिए भागेंगे, गूंजेंगे खेलों के मैदान, बांटेंगे सब खुशियाँ, गम भी हम सब मिलकर बांटेंगे। फिर से होंगी सपनों की उड़ान, जो साथ दे दे तभी जीते गए। और साथ देने के लिए हमें दूरी रखनी होगी, जैसे कि हमारे दोनों डॉक्टर्स ने हमें हिदायत दी है कि सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग के सभी नियमों का हम पालन करें, तभी फिर मुस्कुराएगा इंडिया, फिर मुस्कुराएगा। बहुत दिल से हम आप लोगों के आभारी हैं। लेकिन फॉर्मल वोट ऑफ थैंक्स के लिए मैं इनवाइट कर रही हूँ स्नेहा सेन गुप्ता को। स्नेहा प्लीज।
Thank you, ma'am, for the invitation. Before that, I would like to, with your permission, I would like to ask two questions to the respected dignitaries. My first question is, at what concentration is the oxygen dispenser recommended to a contracted person, especially attributing when we attribute this to the crisis in the supply of oxygen in the hospitals in India, and specifically when we see the condition in the national capital, Delhi.
Um,
I
it's
think Shitaja would be in a better position to answer this question.
Yeah. See, you get oxygen concentrators for different liters. It comes in 4 liters, 8 liters, 10 liters. And so, depending upon the oxygen saturation, the level of it is given in liters. Like if you want to start it at 1 liter, and condition of the patient calls for that how much oxygen level has to be, how much oxygen has to be given, at what liters it has to be started. They're talking about the shortage of oxygen at Delhi. See, what happens is when the once a hospital is planned, you know you plan for the disaster, but sometimes the your estimated um, population is more than what you had estimated that a disaster would be. So it's a pandemic. So of course the patients which we are getting are far more than what a hospital prepares for a disaster. Normally not every patient is on the oxygen, only very sick patients or the patients who are post-op are given oxygen for some time. And then you also keep a buffer in case you have a disaster. But this time, unfortunately, our country is facing something which is more than a disaster. So definitely our needs has increased, and because it was a very short span of time, so the oxygen requirements also increased, and that is the reason. And also there is a little bit of, if I could add, a panic in the population. People have started to hoard the oxygen cylinders, people have started to recklessly buy oxygen concentrators and keep at home. People so that is why I said, see, once you reach a stage wherein this the oxygen levels are going below 90, then in that is the case when you need a healthcare worker. So what is the sense of holding an oxygen cylinder at home? Might as well be used in a healthcare setting. It can be, because if people are going to hold it, the hospitals are definitely going to face the shortage. Government is making an effort to get more. We are getting international support. Every country is coming in support of India. So we can do our bit by not creating a panic, not unnecessarily holding the oxygen cylinders and oxygen concentrators, and taking your medical advice before buying a concentrator. You might end up buying a 8 liters one, but your healthcare worker might say that no, you need a higher one, you need a 10 liters one, or you might just need a 4 liters or 6 liters one. So I think being more educated and being more rational would help us in this era.
Thank you so much, ma'am. My last question is, when we consider the remdesivir chaos going on currently in the country, so what is in all attributing to this intolerance among the people? When we see that there is a shortage, uh, so there is a shortage in the supply of this medicine. So, what is more troublesome, that people are panicking and running to different places just to retrieve this medicine, or the black marketing of these medicines from non-verified outlets? Also, with the follow-up that when there is a when what exactly when exactly is the patient recommended this medicine? How severity can result after taking this?
Okay. So Sneha, the thing is that again the answer remains the same. Hospitals do keep a stock of the medicines. They also keep a buffer stock for the disasters or in case of emergency needs. But nobody had really dreamt that such a huge scale would turn out. Secondly, remdesivir affects the liver. So people are recklessly having it once they turn out to be positive. So I would say that if you have reached the level of remdesivir, that means if you have contracted, your symptoms have increased to moderate and are progressing towards the severe. It's the best that you surrender yourself to your doctor, and rather than going and buying it over the counter and self treating. I think we should not do this.
Thank you, ma'am. Gratitude makes sense of your past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. It's my esteemed honor to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the BSSS fraternity to honorable speakers for gracing us with a pulse of wisdom and knowledge this evening. I'm grateful to Dr. Andli Brahman, founder of Smiles Expert Dental, for sharing her insights on the raging surge of the COVID pandemic. The unprecedented crisis has led this world to a standstill, leaving us with dubiousness and myths. But after hearing from you, we can now decipher the true meaning with all vigilance and care. I'm also indebted to Dr. Kshitija Singh Jain, Senior Resident AIMS New Delhi, for enlightening us on how to overcome the ghastly disease by adhering to the associated medical advices. She also threw light on the recovery rate and the consecutive patterns with every growing mutant wave of COVID 19. I'm humbled and gratified by the excellent coverage by both the speakers and their initiative to mediate the seminar with their array of studies and perspectives. I also express my sincere thanks to our respected principal, Father Dr. John T.J., for recognizing the need of the hour and permitting the department to establish the same. This event won't have been a fulfilling one without the support of our technical team who worked tirelessly to back this webinar with all flawlessness and no interruptions. Also, I'm thankful to our respected faculty members, Mrs. Sheena Thomas, Dr. Nana Singh, and Mrs. Manju Mehta, who organized this webinar with an immediate effect. Last but not the least, I am overwhelmed with the response of our audience who connected with us this evening. I would thereby conclude with the following lines. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not just to utter words, but to live by them. Stay safe. Thank you.
थैंक यू सो मच स्नेहा सेन गुप्ता। आपने बहुत प्यारे वर्ड्स के साथ जो थैंक्स किया और साथ ही साथ अपनी क्वेरीज 2 क्वेश्चंस में भी कर ली। वेरी स्मार्ट, थैंक यू सो मच बेटा। एंड दिल से आभार है डॉक्टर अंजलि रहमान का और डॉक्टर क्षितिजा सिंह जैन का। हम इंतज़ार करेंगे कब आप भोपाल आएँ और द भोपाल स्कूल ऑफ सोशल साइंसेज आपके हाथों में आपके मेमेंटोज सौंपे और हम आपका दिल से शुक्रिया।
Thank you.
थैंक्स अ मिलियन।
Thank you so much,
हमारी
ma'am.
बेस्ट विशेस,
Thank you.
हमारी बेस्ट विशेस आपके साथ। आप अपनी फैमिली के साथ स्वस्थ रहें और इसी तरह जिंदगी की ऊंचाइयों पर बहुत आगे। गॉड ब्लेस। थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you. Our pleasure.
Thank
Bye.
you, Dr. Anli, Dr. Shitija. Thank you, Manchu, ma'am. I'm really overwhelmed. It's really very nice. Gratitude to all of you. Thank you, Sneha. Thank you, Eugene. Thank you, everyone.
It has been a
एंड
It was
pleasure,
really a
and we have been
wonderful
honored
and
to do this.
informative session.
थैंक यू सो मच आर एचओडी आपके कोऑपरेशन के लिए।
Ma'am, Manchu, ma'am, it's all your initiative.
और अब हम चाहेंगे फीडबैक फॉर्म जो हम जिसका लिंक शेयर कर रहे हैं चैट बॉक्स में, तो प्लीज़ हमारे साथ जो फ्रेंड लोग जुड़े हुए हैं फीडबैक फॉर्म ज़रूर भर दीजिए। और आपका हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए दिल से धन्यवाद। थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, we have shared the feedback link. We will end the session now.
Thank you, ma'am. If I could leave it.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Thanks, Manchu, ma'am. Thank you, Sneha.
Thank
नैना
you,
मैम
ma'am.
थैंक यू सो मच। अच्छा
Eugene.
बोला, स्नेहा का बहुत अच्छा था। नैना मैम आप भी वैसे
Thank
बोलिए।
you.
हाँ जी हाँ जी शी इज वेरी efficient मैम शी इज वेरी efficient
वेरी गुड,
है ना एज
वेरी
इसकी
गुड।
कम है
Thank
लेकिन
you,
इसका
ma'am.
कैलिबर बहुत अच्छा है बहुत ज्यादा
थैंक यू मैम।
है ना और मैम शी हैज प्रिपेयर्ड द फ्लायर ऑफ द इवेंट इवन
थैंक यू सो मच मैम।
है ना हम दोनों ने साथ में ही काम किया है इवन गूगल फॉर्म है शीट्स है सब पे
टीम
रात में
वर्क
जब मैं
हमेशा
आप कह रहे थे ना आपने इतनी देर से सोए वो मैसेज किया शी वाज आल्सो वर्किंग अलोंग विद मी फॉर सर्टिफिकेट एंड ऑल Thanks, Manchu ma'am. Thank you, Sneha.
Thank
नैना
you,
मैम,
ma'am.
थैंक यू सो मच। अच्छा
Eugene.
बोला, स्नेहा का बहुत अच्छा था। नैना मैम, आप भी रची
Thank
बोलिए।
हाँ
you.
जी, हाँ जी। She is very, very efficient, ma'am. She is very efficient.
वेरी गुड,
है ना, एज
वेरी
इसकी
गुड।
कम है
Thank
लेकिन
you,
इसका
ma'am.
कैलिबर बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत ज्यादा
थैंक यू मैम।
है ना। और मैम, शी हैज प्रिपेयर्ड द फ्लायर ऑफ द इवेंट इवन।
थैंक यू सो मच मैम।
है ना, हम दोनों ने साथ में ही काम किया है। इवन गूगल फॉर्म है, शीट्स है, सब पे।
टीम
रात में
वर्क
जब मैं
हमेशा
आप कह
बीत
रहे
है।
थे ना आपने इतनी देर से सोए हो मैसेज किया, शी वाज आल्सो वर्किंग अलोंग विद मी फॉर सर्टिफिकेट एंड ऑल।
As we express our gratitude, we must never forget.
It's really very nice. Gratitude to all of you. Thank you, Sneha. Thank you, Eugene. Thank you, everyone.
It has been a
It
एंड
was
pleasure,
really a
and we have been
wonderful
honored
and
to do this.
informative session.
थैंक यू सो मच आर एचओडी, आपके कोऑपरेशन के लिए।
No, ma'am,
थैंक यू मैम।
ma'am, it's all your initiative.
और अब हम चाहेंगे फीडबैक फॉर्म जो हम जिसका लिंक शेयर कर रहे हैं चैट बॉक्स में, तो प्लीज़ हमारे साथ जिस टाइम लोग जुड़े हुए हैं
जी।
फीडबैक फॉर्म ज़रूर भर दीजिए। और आपका हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए दिल से धन्यवाद। थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, we have shared the feedback link. Eugene,
Yes, ma'am.
just tell ma'am how to present from there.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, ma'am, you have to click on present screen. It should be on your right and present now. It should be on right hand side.
Yes, 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 yes.
There you will be getting three options: your entire screen, a window, a tab.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are opening the PPT, it should be selecting a window.
Okay.
After that, you will be getting the PowerPoint window also. There will be some more windows in
Yes.
that in that dialog box. You will be getting few windows. You have to select the
Okay.
PowerPoint one and
Okay.
just click on that and just share.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So can you do it now so that we can?
Then let's just try it and do
Yeah,
it once. Yeah. So it's present now. A window. PPT. Okay. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. It is visible.
Okay. Sure. So when my turn comes, I'll do it this way.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.